Welcome to Sacred Success Salon, where you get to discover how to own your power, live your purpose, and claim your prosperity for the next level of your sacred success in life and business. I'm your hostess, Anna Kowalska. I'm your soul purpose and prosperity catalyst. And today it is my honor and pleasure to welcome Prema Gurreri. Welcome, Prema.
Thank you for having me, Anna. I'm just really thrilled to be here. You're up to really good stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a joy of mine. Let me just introduce you to our audience because I've been following you for a while and there is a pretty good chance that our audience knows who you are. But for those of you who don't, Prema Gurreri is committed to creating a world where everyone is empowered to live on purpose in a way that is aligned with their high value gifts and their birthright of true prosperity, which is just such a beautiful definition of why we even here having this conversation. Prema is a leading Vedic astrologer, soul advisor, business consultant, energy practitioner, best-selling author, award-winning author of the Your Sacred Wealth Code and Unlock Your Soul Blueprint for Purpose and Prosperity, and the creator of Your Sacred Wealth Code Oracle Cards and the Sacred Wealth Code Journal. Oh, tongue twister, but it's so full and beautiful. She empowers leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries to change agents to take inspired action and unlock their sacred wealth code using her intuitive approach to business building, her patent solutionary technology. Prema's clients manifest wealth and create meaningful lives by doing what they are meant to do. You guys, I'm so tongue twisted because this is so beautiful and so aligned. Prema, I followed you for several years now, and there is a message that you sent out that really struck a chord, and I dove deeper into who you are and what you stand for, and I'm like, wow, this is just such a beautiful alignment. Welcome again.
Awesome. It's great to be here, and I'm just happy to really dive in because this is a time when we really do need to be aligned with the best of ourselves, be aligned with our purpose, and be able to tune out what's really not ours to take on, be responsible for, or what's not our path to follow either.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful the way you just said it. Sometimes it's not even what we need to take on, but what's not ours to take on that matters to know, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I love when you shared in a message recently that for the next 3 years, we are in the space where Saturn is going to be kicking our butt to do what we're here to do and to follow through. And when I heard that and the way you said it, you just said it so beautifully. If you're going to do it and you're going to finish it, you better make sure it's something you are wholeheartedly in.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on the other side of that too, if there's something that you already know and you're in touch with and you're not doing it, Saturn will put the pressure on you and you will feel the pain of not doing that. And I guarantee you, because I can already tap into some of you, that some of you are in that position. And that's when you want to make sure that you're clear on your beliefs, your fears that are keeping you from really stepping into what's really yours, what's your birthright. But this energy, Saturn's a hard planet for everybody to a certain extent because it's the planet of truth or consequences. Meaning if you're not aligned with the truth, if you're not walking your true path, and it is better to walk your path than the path of another and do it as imperfectly as the Bhagavad Gita says, because it's your path and your path alone. Mm-hmm. Where Saturn only comes to the places in the this is Vedic astrology, so sidereal zodiac, same constellations, but a little bit different placement because we keep time a little differently. So Saturn hasn't been here in 30 plus years. It's in its own house. Imagine when you go into your own house, maybe you've been on vacation, it's great, but when you come home, you can relax, you can throw your clothes on the floor, you can, you know where everything is, you can just be very comfortable. Well, Saturn is in its own house and it will be there for the next 3 years. Actually, it owns 2 houses, so it'll be there for the next 5 years in its own energy. I won't geek out too much. But here's the deal. It has, wherever it is, sometimes it can bring up fear, and it's been bringing up fear and wanting to do something about our beliefs. So for the past 2.5 years, and now it's time to actually, after all that sifting and sorting, hopefully you did that process. If not, get some help so that you can do that. That it's time to actually step in and focus, like put your blinders on and do what it takes. Now, not only will Saturn require this of you, that it'll also support you in that energy. And we'll have some other energy that comes in, like in March, there's another aspect that comes in that helps us do the work. So when I wrote my book, for instance, and created my oracle deck and such, like I've had these inspirations, but I had to like focus in, which also meant that I had to be aware of what priorities I had to set and what was not a priority. So the sifting and sorting and understand what's yours to do, what's yours to pay attention to, also falls on the side of, okay, well, what is it not the time for? Or do I not have the bandwidth for? Because Saturn will always show you your limitations in the physical world. In the spiritual world, our energetic being self has no limitations. We're as free as we choose to be, but we can only stay up for so many hours. We can only eat so much. We can only do so much. And those are the limitations of the world. Saturn gives us those limitations to help us to understand that what is really true. This is all ephemeral and passing. And yes, we need to play full out, but at the same time, it's very important that we remember that this is all passing. And what is really true is knowing who you are, what your purposeful path is, what really brings you joy as well, and to not be too overly attached.
That's beautiful. Don't be too overly attached. So in hand analysis, Saturn stands for money too. Saturn governs money and our relationship with money, which when I heard what you shared was even deeper connected to, and I know that's the essence of the work that you do, right? Get paid for what you came here for your purpose.
Well,
right?
I would call it wealth, and I would call it,
Yes.
Be who you are, do what you love, so you can have the kind of wealth that is most meaningful for you, because that may not be what, the programming is telling you, but what's most meaningful for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which, it is taking care of physical, right?
We have to do that part, right? We have to. We need to have shelter. We need to have food. We need to have, resources for enjoyment. In Vedic astrology, we look at all the wealth placements. There's 3. They follow the purpose placements in a chart, and it's Arta. And it literally means, and I go into this in my book, Your Sacred Wealth Code, everything you need to fulfill your purpose. So you want to acquire what's needed to fulfill your purpose. We're a little skewed with that in the Western culture, especially just acquire. And I'm sure all of you have acquired things that then you realized it didn't have any meaning for you, or it didn't actually help you along your path. So it's acquiring what you need to fulfill your purpose. In Vedic astrology, Saturn isn't necessarily a wealth planet. I have great respect for Western astrology as well. Jupiter on a karaka level rules more wealth. But what Saturn, also each planet means something individual for us, but collectively Saturn is a purpose planet. Okay. It is going to hold us to our path of purpose. So then we could say it is connected to wealth. Absolutely. Because what do we need to be able to fulfill our purpose? That goes hand in hand.
Yeah. I love this. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, this is so great. So when you say we need to collect, acquire along the way what we need to live on purpose, what would that look like?
Okay, so that means, say you've discovered what your purpose is, and you want to serve and help the world in some way, or others in some way, or maybe you've decided, wow, my purpose is really being the most amazing parent. In order to do that, I need some resources. You probably need knowledge. You're going to need support, maybe from community and other people. In our culture, money is a common energy of exchange. In ancient times, people used many different things to exchange, right? For currency. So we're going to need money to be able to maybe supply our children with the right school or books or whatever it might be. For our businesses, we're going to need resources, to, host everything we need to host and create that. So, but we want to acquire it for what we need it actually for on that level of deeper meaning, because many stories of people who have acquired great wealth, and if they weren't on purpose, some part of their life collapses, whether it's their relationships, whether they just lose everything, and then that sends them on their spiritual journey. You don't have to come to God on your knees. Most people don't come to God after winning the lottery either, right? They're coming like, oh my gosh, tell me what's in, and I'm using the word God for the divine in any which way that you call it that word. So it's, what do I need to be able to do what I'm here to do? And I also don't want you to get hung up in it's important to know what we're here for. That's a broad subject. So we might have our purpose, like my underlying core purpose is living from the inside out. So I teach my clients to do that through business, through understanding themselves, through understanding their wealth, through understanding their purpose, what they're here for. But that may play out a little bit differently in my relationships, and it may play out a little differently, in my, how I'm working in my business in different ways. Mm-hmm. So we get hung up in the Western culture on purpose being what I do. And I want you to think about it as, what am I here for? Like, what am I really here on a level of service? But the service has to feed you too, because you need to not feel like you're drained. Otherwise, it's not service. We find service and slavery in the same part of the Vedic astrology chart. So if you're doing something that you are called to do, but you don't want to do it, that is slavery. If you are doing something that you're called to do, but you want to, that's service. Service gives us a deeper level of meaning. And when we have that meaning in our life, it can really juice all the other areas of our life too.
Yeah, this is so great, because that's the definition we're operating with too. That's what I'm inviting everybody to really take on. Stop looking at your purpose as, I'm a dentist. You're like, that's my purpose, to be a dentist, right? I don't know why I always pick that, but
it's getting literal. Yeah,
it is very literal. So it's not necessarily your purpose can have so many different expressions, and once you uncover it, because it's always there, you can see it in so many aspects of your life. I just love that you brought that here. How does one get to, because you gave us two examples, and it's so great that you brought it up. If your purpose is to do something, but you don't want to do it, right? How do you go from there? I mean, it's your purpose.
So there's two scenarios here. You think it's your purpose, and you think it's what you should be doing, because you've got look, we are bombarded with cultural programming. From the time you're an infant, I do a lot of clearing work with people, and a lot of the work that I do in my programs, we do clearing work because we've taken on so much. Okay, so then is it really your purpose? Because if you don't want to do it, you need to look at that. And then you also need to look at, okay, so what are the fears that are coming up around it? Not, oh, this is my purpose, but I see one of the biggest ones, because I really help people understand what their divine gifts are, is around being seen. Because a lot of your gifts or your purpose may be in the realm of unseen. Like being a dentist is seen, right? Somebody who wants to really help people live a better life by taking care of themselves really well, that could be a dentist's purpose by all means, right? And that could be expressed in different ways. Well, but being seen, like living from the inside out, okay, that's kind of from the unseen. Being an intuitive, being an empath, helping people make really great decisions. Maybe you're an artist, maybe you can interpret things in the most amazing way. Maybe you're this amazing leader who just knows how to see what needs to be done, like in the leader archetype. These are unseen gifts, and we all have a lot of fear around our unseen gifts and being seen for those. So you have to look at, I feel like that's my purpose, but I don't really want to do it. That's you got to look at the fears, you got to look at the beliefs and clear that up. And once you clear those, if you really feel like that's not quite it, then you're probably closer in the neighborhood, and you're going to be more available to really face your purpose then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so great, because also what I hear is a confirmation that it is a journey.
It is such a journey. Okay, so even as a Vedic astrologer, as a hand analyst, you might see, we might see like if you go from here to here, you're on it. Or we can, we're high level intuitives. You can see where someone's going. But part of my process is I don't do prediction. I help people understand timelines, mm-hmm. because I want people to understand themselves. I'm very humanistic in that way. And you can never judge what a journey someone needs to take in order to, I see it as the soul takes you on this journey to help you gather up these parts of yourself that you left off the wayside. So I say you're never off your path. Imagine your path is this beautiful winding road, and there's some gravel on the sides, and then there's the ditch with the tumbleweeds in it. You might be over on the side. You may be not very well placed, But that's because of some choices you make. And a lot of times that's what will catapult you back on your track again. So it is a circuitous journey. There are ups and downs. And in truth, if we created everything we want today, we're creators at heart. That we're wired that way. It's an expanding universe. We're expanding. Then what would you do with yourself? So we don't mean to be cliche when we say it's about the journey, but it really is, because then you'd be looking for a new journey.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Let's say you do manifest. Let's say you've done all this work all this time. It's been stirring up, and all of a sudden you uncover your purpose, and the next day you're like, oh, right. There will be a next level. Yeah.
There'll be a next. Purpose will always pull you forward, and that's purpose equals why. Why equals purpose. So that's the first pillar of wealth in my book. And one of the beautiful things about purpose is it gets you out of bed in the morning. It pulls you forward. And so when you feel like you've achieved a certain level of purpose, you're going to want to hook into something else. There'll be another expansion that comes. Now, there's also the time of life you're in. We've got that first time of life where we're just finding out who we are, right? And then we kind of go into that, we call it the Grahasta station. It's the maybe you're having family and you're, a householder and you've got your career. Then we go into Kama, which is really the fulfillment of our desires, which a lot of times some people don't even come to purpose till then, because that's part of the fulfillment of desires. Some people have already achieved a level of purpose. Now they want to enjoy. And there's nothing wrong with that. Our culture is stuck in the first two stations. We need to open up to the fact that we're here to enjoy. And then the final station of life is really a letting go, and it's really a spiritual station in life. So the next purpose, maybe if you're like at that third station and you're more progressed in your life, that last part is, I really want to open up to my spirituality. So maybe you feel like you're letting your purpose becomes then just to seek a deeper level of the divine. So, we need to give ourselves breath that it doesn't have to be something that you do.
Yeah, there's such permission. There's such permission in that. It's so amazing. So how do you, because you do awaken people to their birthright, true prosperity. What does that mean in your work, and how do you see that connection between purpose and prosperity?
Absolutely. So, and again, in my book, I go into all of this. So the intersection of your purpose planets and your prosperity planets in your Vedic astrology chart is actually, in Vedic astrology, is very scientific. It comes from the Vedas. And it's been used throughout time, used to present day. This is an actually scientific calculation of, this is where they're called Dana Yogas. It's a particular combination. So after looking at this for many years, and also for me crashing and burning with my yoga center years ago, which my story is in my book, then the Sacred Wealth Code sort of dropped in. It was my interpretation of that scientific principle. And you can imagine it this way. You have a road, and that's purpose. And then and that's where you can think of it, well, purpose. And then there's another road, and that's prosperity in that intersection. Now, what lives at that intersection? It's your divine gifts. And more than that, you have a lot of gifts. It's your highest value gifts, the ones that are purposeful, but will also connect in with prosperity. So when you use them, that the world will actually recognize you for them. So it plays on that inner and outer level very much so. And the key is, by knowing what those are and your Sacred Wealth Code, and I do Sacred Wealth Code readings, and I have Sacred Wealth Code Oracle cards, and we've even, part of the free gift is helping you with one of your Sacred Wealth Code archetypes. Our body archetypes dropped in after me describing these energies for many years, and I was so grateful because it's a soul language. There's 3 archetypes for each planet in north and south node of the moon. There's 1 for each. And when you can tap into and get to know these archetypes, they're like guides, and you will always have your own interpretation that will ring true for you. So if I say leader or teacher or merchant or communicator, a whole different story opens up for each and every one of us that we can relate to. And also they're sort of timeless, where you'll see different things at different times. So this intersection of purpose and prosperity, as long as you're using your highest value gifts, and even if you don't know what your purpose is, you will be on your purposeful path, and it will reveal itself to you. It is like this navigational tool to always be on your purposeful path, and it'll unfold as it does. You'll also bump against those parts of yourselves, and the archetypes also show you your shadow side as well. And it's nice to know your shadow side, because these are parts of you that block parts of your gifts. I call it the your greatest challenges, the unexpected gateway to wealth, because these are blind spots, so to speak. And I have a belief of everybody's welcome at the party. So you want to invite these parts in, get to know them. They usually have been hurt when you were younger, and in that you unlock the gifts that you can't. You're like, well, that's a gift, but I can't really use that. Well, that's because you have it. You're in the shadow there. So, but again, it's wealth is everything you need to fulfill your purpose, and it lives at the intersection of purpose and prosperity, where you find your highest value gifts, not the ones that the world will recognize you for.
That's so beautiful. And I'm glad you said that again, because you said it at the beginning of this answer, and you just went back to again the gifts that the world will recognize you for. And to me, when I hear it, it's like so many of us are here to be seen for certain things, right? And shadows, all of that. But when you, to me, tell me if this is in the same in your work as well, we may be struggling to get paid for the work we're doing until we get to this, what you call intersection, those true highest value gifts. And then all of a sudden people see us and start asking us and start wanting to pay us for the work we're doing in whatever way it shows up. And we're like, what just happened, right?
Right. It's so, like, for instance, I have a client, and she'd been struggling with a sort of coaching and teaching with horses, this equestrian, beautiful work. And so she was really, and she's really intuitive. She's got this really great connector, and one of the gifts of the connector is an intuitive. So, and also she's an amazing empath. But she hadn't owned those gifts, so she was always hiding them or trying to mold herself into like the exact model that she was taught with her horses and coaching. But through our work together, as she unraveled, what she found was that she had to circle back around to really what were her gifts. And when she owned her intuitive side, when she owned that she was a teacher in her own right, and she had her own interpretation, she communicates with the horses intuitively, and she can get people answers that way. This is very different than what she was taught, but these were her gifts. So then she was able to relaunch her business in a way that she could monetize it. And not only that, she felt like, she felt like she came home to a place she had never been before.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know the truth of that it's such a magical thing, right? And it's always there, right? It was always there inside of her.
Always there. And, we have to be so careful of it. I know that, you've seen this, and we could go on all day about this, and we won't. But if you have a business and you're using your gifts in a business, for instance, and even in a career, you might have to deal with this as well. There's so much marketing strategy, and coaches telling you to do this, that, and we both coach and work with people as well. But I do everything self-driven. So we work from the inside out. We align first. Like, I'm sure you're doing this when you're working with people's, energy through the Canon analyst. And then I have a process where we drop into our heart, and we always find out, because I want to pull it through the other, and I want them to come to be able to trust themselves and what's true for them. So a lot of my work is always about dropping into the heart and finding the true answers. But even the most skilled of us, we have to watch it. You have to put your blinders on, because you'll be told, no, that's, you have to do this marketing. You have to do it this way. All that stuff is made up. It's a game, and it's all made up. And so some of it will match you and some of it will not. And you need to work with what matches you, or you need to trust what's bubbling up from you. And I don't care if you call your business, Red Snail, and you're making tools that has nothing to do with if your energy is behind it, you will be that beacon, and people will connect in with that. But you could have the most appropriate marketing, and it doesn't resonate for you. People are not going to feel your energy.
Yeah. Oh, I am so glad that you presenced it, Prema, because we've had layers of this conversation, and the way that you just said it is so beautiful. I call it like, you can buy a strategy for 5 cents on Google. Go Google it. There is a strategy for every single thing you want to do, and 20 of it. And there is a new one coming out every day, right? If you don't align yourself with it, drop into your heart, discover what your highest value gift is. What is it that you are here to beam out into the world?
And if you don't listen when it's like, no, this isn't it. And how do you know? Okay, that's a big one. How, your body is going to tell you, how do you feel? So if you're feeling contracted, or that feels hard, or your throat gets tight, or you feel like, oh God, I don't have the money for that, those are all signs that maybe that's not for you. And you really need to listen a little closer to your heart, to what is for you. Because again, you have to, I'll say this one last thing about the gifts and being seen. So you might embrace your gift, and then you might start standing out and being seen. So, like for instance, I had just done your Sacred Wealth Code, and you've got this great humanitarian, nurturer and strategist. They kind of work hand in hand. This is a great combination. So you have the ability to nurture someone, reach in and give them what they need to grow, but not do it for them. And I'm sure you've dealt with that shadow side of doing it too much, people pleasing and all of that. And then on the strategy side, you can get in and you can help see their way and give them the tools, and show them the way. So someone might, so say for instance, you or someone else starts to use those gifts. They know what they are, they're excited about them. And then the first time they do, they don't get recognized, and then they deflate. No, you have to get energetically behind yourself. You have to not care, actually. And I know this is hard, but you have to do it because you just love to do it, and stand in that gift. And when you stand in it, you become like a light bulb that's turned on. Then people can see you, but you can't just flick on one time, if that makes any sense.
Oh, that is so amazing. So this is, you guys, such a gold right there. Because I think it happens very often, right? Especially if we experienced rejection in childhood for anything we've done, right? We put out our gift, right? We package it nicely, put it out, and maybe the first person doesn't respond the way we think we should be responded to, and then we'll pull back. In my own practice, in my own business, I still to this day, every single day, read my mission statement, and that is my way of connecting. Yes?
Well, yeah, because you want to drive yourself, but and you want to weigh your choices against what is your purpose, what is your mission statement, and if it doesn't weigh against that, then you're off course.
Yeah, right. And then exactly, and then if a client isn't aligned with that, it's just they don't even show up in my world anymore. But there was a time, yeah. But at the beginning, I had experiences with people who were just not aligned because I wasn't fully 100% standing. This is what my gift is. This is how I can support you. And yeah,
that's big. And I'll need to say that it's a constant evolution. Like I'm always being called out more because again, it's an expanding universe. I also have 8th house planets, which means there's a part of me that likes to hide. It's one of the things that kept my yoga. Well, I had a world-class yoga center. We don't have time for that story, but I didn't come out of the closet as the high-level intuitive I am with my work. I mean, I was training teachers, doing all kinds of things, getting, recognition for that. But I still keep noticing that, as I progress, I'm called out even a little bit more, and I'm called out even a little bit more. So this is an ongoing cycle for those of us who seem like we're successful and we've reached a certain level of success, but we're still on a growth path too.
Yeah. And that's amazing. I so agree with you. Yeah. And we're talking about if you are on purpose, it will constantly call you into your higher version of yourself. There isn't this like, oh, okay, I made it.
There's enough of that. And when you get used to it, you're like, you go, oh yeah, okay, well then what's next? But just to let you know, and out of vulnerability that, we're constantly, growing and shifting, and we've got to deal with the ups and downs of it all too. And our soul takes us through different cycles. And that's again, to gather up more pieces of ourselves. Yay. So just get excited about that. When something shows up, I want you to lean in and go, okay, just like you can look back and you can say, oh yeah, 5 years ago, that thing happened to me, but I see the blessing in it now. When that thing's coming, you're going to go, okay, well, there's a blessing in it. Let me lean into it so it doesn't take me 5 years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Amazing. So amazing. So I know you keep referencing your career, and we don't have a lot of time left. This thing.
I know. The Saturn, the limits of time. I know.
Yes.
It also gives us that time pressure.
Yeah. And I know you have an amazing story of when you were running a yoga studio and then something happened and you awakened into what you truly came. Yeah. Could you just share with us a little bit as an inspiration?
Yeah, I'll give you guys the real abbreviated version. Been a yoga teacher for many years. And I opened a big, beautiful, world-class center. at a very challenging time. It was 2002. It was right before the war at that time and other things. So the center was a six-figure in sales business. It was, we had healing practitioners, and I was really running too much of it on my own. I was training teachers, doing my private work, doing all my classwork, and running the business. So the business wasn't paying me at that level that I needed it to. My marriage fell apart during that time. I was in a really tough, I was in my Saturn cycle. Saturn will hold your feet to the fire. So I tried to do everything, get a partner, sell the center, and I was locked into a lease, a 5-year lease, and I was like at 4.5 years. And I had borrowed a lot of money. I was just in a tough place. And I kept hearing, you need to let go, you need to surrender. So I'm on my knees, right? I'm surrendering. But I opened the door one day to teach a class at 6:30 in the morning, and I heard it loud and clear. No, you need to let this go. Like, I had to let the whole business go. And I was like, whoa, like nobody even knows I'm struggling. There's a lot of things that happened, a lot of things I learned in that. But that was a on the knees moment, dark night of the soul moment. I did let it go. I was able to get out of the tail end of my lease. Thank God. And I chose to stay on my knees until I figured this out, because I was on my purposeful path. So why the heck was this not working? And what I found out, and it's really when I dove deep into the Vedic astrology, that's where the Sacred Wealth Code was birthed from, when I did my own clearing work and really understood my shadow. I was been part of the shadow of Saturn. I was too independent. I'd lived on my own since very young. I had to do things on my own. I didn't know how to receive very well. That was part of that. I saw where I was in my shadow, and I also hadn't stepped out with some of my highest level gifts. Yeah, I'm a great teacher. Yeah, I can run a company. But I needed to show up as, in my intuitive gifts and my Vedic astrology and stuff. So in that, I went into private practice about 6 months later. I borrowed some money from my dad, which I had never done and was never offered to me, hired a heart-centered business coach. I went back to work with my spiritual mentor, my Vedic astrology mentor, and hired an assistant at that time. And within a few months, and I was a single mom at this point with 2 teenagers, and within a few months, I was making really good money. It was all coming to me, because when I looked at the center, everything I was doing, I was who was driving the money in the door, but I was supporting a lot of people and a lot of things. Mm-hmm. So when I pulled back from that, it wasn't hard for me to create a 6-figure income on my own energy.
Yeah. And for you to benefit from, instead of going to the business, most of what you've
right. And that's where the Sacred Wealth Code was birthed. And then finally the archetypes showed up, and I was like, oh, this is just, and it just has become juicier and juicier. So there's a journal, there's the cards, there's a book and programs of blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Amazing. So amazing. And what a story. And I think I wanted you to share it. Well, first of all, because you referenced it. So I didn't want to leave people hanging.
Yes. And it's in the book if you want to read the whole thing. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. And the book is on your website?
Book's on the website. It's on Amazon. Very easy. Your Sacred Wealth Code. Google it. You got it. Yeah.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you. Your Sacred Wealth Code. Awesome. And it's an inspiration, because you thought you were on your path. You were like, yeah, this is, I am embodying.
Why is it not paying?
Yeah.
And in a way it was, but it wasn't, I was holding up too much. I was over responsible. That's one of Saturn's shadow side. And so not enough was coming to me, and I wasn't totally aligned with my path. I have to watch out, and it's in my Vedic astrology. I have to watch out for over responsibility and supporting too many people. The energy exchange has to be even, and I was in a misaligned energy exchange. But that led me, so here, if you're in one of those, that led me to really seeing the next deep level of my purpose and my prosperity, and I was able to step right into that when I made the shift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if there was a gift, even though everything fell apart, and I feel like even you getting out of your lease you were being supported.
Because they wouldn't let me down. Interesting. They wouldn't let me downsize, which that would have taken for me to stay in that configuration, but I needed to get out of that configuration. So that didn't work. And in the end, another company came in who wanted my space. I had a beautiful space, and I had 1.5 floors, and they wanted all my space, and they wanted it now. It's like, okay.
Yeah. That to me, in my world, is universe coming in to support what needed to happen for everybody. Yeah. Amazing. It's so great. So Prema, I know you have a gift for our viewers. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's it's the Sacred Wealth Code Archetype Quiz. And when you go through the quiz, you answer a few questions, and you will get one of your archetypes. And you will also get a beautiful PDF download of that archetype and a couple of trainings that go along with it to help you with it. And it's super fun and it's super usable. Also, I've included in that my soul wisdom meditation, and this is a process I use with everybody to drop into your heart, to find out what your truth is, to find out also what you want to create, and helps you put in the place of, it's about 12-15 minutes, and it'll open you up to actually creating what it is that you wanted to create. And all I want to say, the underpinning of that is learning to trust yourself, and that I believe we're connected in with all this. You just may not be able to interpret it.
Yeah, beautiful. I cannot wait to dig into mine. Oh, amazing. So generous. So you guys know to access this gift, it's the button below this video. You've done it several times now. Button below this video, click the button, get the gift, get your archetype, get the meditation, another way for you to tap into who you are and why you're here. So generous. Thank you.
Totally my pleasure. And great being with you today and serving your community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prema. So powerful, so aligned. And I'm so excited that you said yes, because you summarized our experience in a salon so beautifully. Everything you touched on is your own flavor, yet it strengthens everything we've been talking about. So it's just amazing. I'm so excited for you guys to watch it again. Go re-listen to some truth bombs that Prema dropped, because I know I was like, oh my gosh, I want to make a note next to this. So great.
Totally a pleasure. And thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next step. Bye for now.